Welcome to the information series, Air Quality Regulations for Stationary Engines. This module provides a detailed discussion of the requirements for the new compression ignition engines, or diesel engines. Welcome, Elvis.
Glad to be here.
Elvis, could you go over the air regulation requirements for new compression ignition engines?
Absolutely, but before we talk about those rule requirements, we need to define a few terms.
First of all, what we mean by new.
Exactly. An engine is considered new if it was ordered after July 11, 2005 and manufactured after April 1st, 2006. That's July 1st, 2006 for fire pump engines, or if the engine was modified or reconstructed after July 11, 2005.
What is the difference between modified and reconstructed?
An engine is considered modified if the changes to that engine actually increase the emission of regulated pollutants.
Okay, and then reconstructed?
Reconstruction is defined as changes to an engine if the capital cost to change that engine is more than 50% than what it would cost to buy the engine if it were entirely new.
What are the compliance requirements for new compression ignition engines?
Well, if you wish to purchase a compression ignition engine today, it must be a certified engine. This simply means that it meets EPA's requirements.
Are these engines easily identifiable?
Yes, they are. The certification label can be found directly on the engine. For 2007 model year and later engines, engine manufacturers must certify new compression ignition engines with a displacement of less than 30 liters per cylinder. The emission standards are generally equivalent to the tier standards for non-road engines. The applicable tier standard for an engine depends on the engine's model year, engine power, and application. New engines sold today generally must meet EPA's Tier 4 standards, or Tier 3 in the case of emergency use only engine. Owners must also install, operate, and maintain the equipment according to the manufacturer's recommendations and procedures.
So if these procedures are followed, the owners are not required to conduct performance tests?
That's correct. You're absolutely correct. If they follow these procedures and do not deviate from those, they are not required to conduct additional tests.
And they are required to use the ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel for the new engines?
That is correct. You're absolutely right.
Are there any other requirements for new compression ignition engines?
Yes, the additional compliance requirements include record keeping, monitoring, and reporting for some engines. And for engines that have been certified for emergency use only, there has to be a non-resettable hour meter installed and records of operation kept. If the engine is an emergency engine and is operated or contractually obligated to be available for more than 15 hours per year, up to 100 hours per year for emergency demand response or voltage frequency deviation, or operated for local reliability up to 50 hours per year, then they are required to submit a report to EPA.
And then starting in 2015, the reports are to be submitted electronically by March 31st of the following year.
That's correct, Brian, yes.
And what information should they include in their report?
These reports should include the facility name and address, the engine rating, model year, latitude and longitude, the date, start time, the end time for operation for emergency demand response, voltage, frequency deviations, or local reliability, the number of hours the engine is contractually obligated for emergency demand response or voltage frequency deviation, the name of the entity that dispatched the engine for local reliability, and the situation that necessitated dispatch and any deviations from the fuel requirement.
And these reports are submitted electronically through the Compliance and Emissions Data Reporting Interface, which is accessed through EPA's Central Data Exchange.
That's correct. And for engines that have a diesel particulate filter or DPF, the owners must use a back pressure monitor and keep records of corrective actions. For non-emergency engines with greater than 3,000 horsepower or with a displacement greater than 10 liters per cylinder, the owner must submit an initial notification to EPA and must also keep records of notifications and engine maintenance. If the engine is certified, the owner must also keep documentation for engine certification. If it is not certified, the owner must keep records of compliance demonstrations.
So Elvis, when do owners need to be in compliance?
Owners should comply with the regulations once that engine becomes operational. They should also contact the EPA regional office as soon as possible if they've not already complied with the requirements.
Okay, and a list of the contacts are shown on the EPA website shown. Elvis, thank you so much for taking the time to go over these air quality regulations for new compression ignition engines. Appreciate that much.
You're welcome.
And then in Module 5, we're going to go over the requirements for the new spark ignition engine.